right. I have so much great information to share. And I will start by owning the fact that I had to eat crow today. That I got called on something that I exclaimed. I made an exclamation about my journey. And I got called out on it. See, I recruited people in my life, which I termed truthing partners, because I wanted to chase down my ego. And when you have people in your life who will be honest with you and tell you the truth, even though it might risk a friendship, it's unbelievably valuable if you're trying to awaken. When you're trying to awaken. Because they're they're helping you to out the nature of, they're helping to out the nature of your, in fact, that was them just popping in. We're having a discussion about this morning, and I got called out. I went back into being this is funny because it's hard to describe yourself. I'm human, and I accept my humanness. And so let me just tell you, I've been sharing with them my journey of awakening. And they pointed out that they couldn't believe, coming from me, that I would use the term, I don't judge anymore. And I do. And I'm going to continue doing that. That's my claim. I claim I'm non-judgmental. And so I can see from their position why, and I love the fact that they called me out on it, because I actually got caught being judgmental. I just love this. It's so funny, and there's so much irony involved. And it's funny because I wasn't even really, the basis of it wasn't even a judgment to protect myself. I was actually protecting somebody else with my judgment. So, how can I claim that I'm not judgmental, but yet be judgmental? Because I'm in this with you. And I'm suggesting to you that you're perfect right now. And if you pay attention to what I'm sharing at all, I'm in this with you. I'm not going to deny my humanity. I am going to make a big claim. But the important part, and this is what I can't stress enough, and that would change our world dramatically if we choose to, is for people to make wild claims and then be willing to eat crow, like I just did this morning, that I'm doing with you right now. I asked for forgiveness for the group of people, and the truth was that what I was doing was dancing around, not trusting other people, which in turn flipped back on me, and I didn't trust myself. But it just brings new insight into my life. I'm past it. And I'll still claim I'm non-judgmental. And really, when I'm creating, that's the space I'm in right now. If I'm not hooked emotionally to any viewpoints, which is the truth, My mind can surf anywhere. It doesn't have to ask permission to say, oh, would a good person say this or think this? I can look at situations without judgment, without taking a viewpoint from it. I do have preferences on what I would choose. And I would say the difference here is that I'm more likely to be judgmental in a moment, which was the case when I'm interacting with people, which is the scariest part of being human, of screwing up. But it's the most beautiful thing, and it's something that we need to, I didn't say need, we could choose to follow. And I use this example that, so there's this idea of like true evil, like that there are true evil people that live in the world with us. And I was always under the influence that it was a conditioned piece, because that's what my ego wanted to do to like make sense of the world. But now I don't look at it as whether or not there is. I just look at it as, what if there is? That's the question I would pose. And somebody posed to me that because we're such an unconscious collective society, that there are entities that can come in because we're so unbelievably unconscious, that dark entities can come in. That could be true. That might not be true. I will just assume it is when I'm traveling my path. So if true evil exists, I know where it travels. It is the sheep in, what is it? The sheep in wolf's clothing, or the wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah, that's it. It travels with the unconscious. Evil travels with unconscious people. It wraps people into their egoic stories. And so, what is my gift? What am I doing by doing this, offering you this? This is what I like to do. And now that I get to do this like full time, just without hindrance of thinking whether somebody's going to like me, or if my hair's nice, or whether I'm breathing or not, makes no difference to me anymore. And so with all that mind space, I can just allow my mind to go through the process. And this is what I share. But what I'm sharing isn't trying to enlighten anybody or wake anybody up. Because what I know 100% from going through the experience is that I couldn't be woken up until I was ready to be woken up. So the only thing that we can do is make the unconscious conscious. And we offer our gifts. This is my gift because I enjoy doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not asking. I haven't asked for a dime. I haven't asked you to even respect me. I do it because it's joyful. I have 0 people watching this right now. But it doesn't matter. This is just my gift. I'm enjoying this. This is the play that my mind likes to do. But what I have seen is, have experienced, is that there's another way that you can experience this world, and it's amazing. And I want to poke people, and I want to play with people to see if they want to play with me to discover that world. I am not saying whether or not you should come with me, or to see that world, or to experience that world, because it's already. You have the ability to do it yourself whenever you're ready to do it. The egoic story isn't a bad story. It is just a story. And the whole idea is that if you look at everything together, you see that people are offering through their creativity, through getting through their own fears and creating art, magnificent art that moves people, to be more entertained by the yearning coming from the belly, from the heart, than from the mind. If you notice, that I wouldn't say the problem, but that's like, if you are able to back up away from the elephant and see what's happening, that's the issue. Is that people are so wrapped up in changing the world by their minds and their heads that, if they can get 20 good articles about the redheaded president we have, like, that's going to make a shift. That decision that's being made on how to change the world is coming from fear and from lack. We have literally, I'm not making a value judgment on that, literally a caricature, a Simpsons caricature at the helm, at a leadership position. If you're looking at the elephant, all you're looking at, and you're doing exactly what the unconscious would do, is you follow every train of thought that this person pushes out. It's exactly the game that they're playing. They want you to be so close to the elephant that you can't see the big picture, that you are just as much empowering them as the people that actually voted for him. You're doing the work for him. And I'm not making a value judgment. And again, like, if your mind goes to, oh, he likes Trump or doesn't like Trump, I don't have a position on it. Like, I know what's more beautiful. I have my own preferences, but I don't tell people my preferences because people don't care, because they're stuck to ideas. They're not stuck to beauty and figuring and enjoying other people's, what they prefer. That might not have unpacked really clearly, but anyway. So I'm with you in this. I cannot wake up anybody. I am not trying to wake up anybody. I am sharing how I chased my ego when I was in it. I am sharing as I see things happening in the world. I'm sharing how you could look at something differently. And so here's an interesting thing. Like, literally, I am a dude that has claimed, I have made this declaration that I am awakened. And I want to show you a little experiment, because this is what came to me. I'll be right back. So I was thinking about it. I'm like literally, I'm exclaiming, declaring that I'm an awakened being. I'm going through an awakening. I have 0 viewers. I have very few people that engage with me on Facebook, yet I have over 1,000 friends. That explains, that should just explain that people are not truly looking for I want to say this in a different way. People are looking more to shove the stories around about what is right and what is wrong, that they're not even engaging. Because what's interesting is that I'm making this declaration, and on top of that, I'm saying to everyone, question me. Like, push me around. If I'm truly going through this, if you truly wanted to awaken, why wouldn't you come and just see if you could, declare, like, find me this big ego that you might believe me to be. And that's because the nature of the ego. I'm not a good playmate with an egoic story anymore because I don't take a viewpoint. I want to talk about ideas. And with an ego, oh, I like the way that I said that. With an ego, you can't talk about ideas because you have a personal involvement with them. So you start making biases, confirmation biases, constantly. So what happened when I awakened? If I used to have, when I would wake up, I thought, oh, if I'm an awakened being, people will just flock to me. That's not how it works. Like, I could use all the information that I understand about the control paradigm, package it up, and I could sell it to people for $5,000 at a workshop. And they'll eat it up because they believe that, because we're so entrained in our culture to believe that if you pay a lot of money for something, then you're going to be getting a lot of value back. So you're giving permission. But look, people aren't even engaging with me to push my ideas around. I'm willing to show where I might be magnificent instead of arrogant by declaring that I am not living an egoic life anymore. I'm willing to do it. People are engaging with me to see if I fit, if what I'm saying fits within their story. So I can't wake up anybody. This is the way that I literally feel now. And this is exactly what I'm experiencing, is that it doesn't matter whether somebody is, quote, is a good person or a bad person, somebody that would be against what I'm saying or somebody that would be for what I'm saying. Both people are going to run away from me because their ego isn't ready to be woken up. So this is the visual that came to me when this came through. Let's see if I can show you. It was something that I remembered from my childhood. Let's see if it'll show. Oh, maybe a little bit. It's a little bit. Looks a little. Anyway, this is just water, pepper, and then I'll put my finger in here. And this is what came to me. So watch the pepper. See how it moves away? Because my finger has soap on it. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. But that's the way I feel now. But the thing is that I don't care. Meaning not that I don't care from a deep, loving perspective. I do. But I'm not affected by the fact that people aren't, bowling themselves over to be in my wake. Because I understand. Because I understand how that works. I understand how it works from the egoic perspective. I'm inviting you to play. That's the interesting thing. I've invited people to play with me. If you want to wake up, and you have a calling, like you feel like, okay, it's your time, and I know what I'm good at. I know I can chase your ego around and corner it as many times as I possibly can, and then I can bring that, I can show you what it's doing and where it's going and how, like, one of the things that came to me was that I could never really wrap my mind around was I was always taught, and a lot of times with the law of attraction folks, that you're always coming from lack. And that drove me nuts because I'm like, no, I can't be coming from lack. I'm such a positive person. But again, that was an ego statement. I mean, if you just look, it's obvious that people are screaming about what they don't want. Like the loudest voices in our culture are screaming about, and I'm not taking a side here. There really aren't any sides anymore. Like, there's so many groups and so many boxes that people are trying to be shoved into, or people are shoving people into, that we don't even, like, we're losing track of, like, what side we're on. Like, I don't even know that we have a side. We have our egoic side. But I mean, that's a perfect example of a way that you can use awakening, is to watch how the ego's at play. You know, turn on the news and you'll figure out what's going on with the ego that day. And then go, okay, well, that's ego. I'm choosing beauty. I could do that. And then you no longer are like, how can I make the world more beautiful? Instead of saying, like, don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Why don't you have the courage to say, this is what I do want? And you know what? You have to be willing to be courageous, because you know what? If you're, like, let's say that you're in a relationship situation, and you know, when you think of beauty, oftentimes you think of, like, I mean, beautiful women to me, and actually, if you Google beautiful women are the first result. But it's not just about smelling flowers, and that's all part of the game, don't get me wrong. But it's when you get yourself into a fix, you must be willing to cut away or change a piece of you, to admit when you're wrong. Like I did this morning, is I admitted that I was wrong. And not necessarily from a, well, see, again, now we're getting tripped up between soul language and egoic language. I did not come from the highest position that I could in that moment. But that moment was perfect. And that's what's cool about having a truthing partner, is that they will literally, that's what they're outing you. And then, but then when you get the chance to put because you have somebody outside of yourself putting all the pieces back together, you get to see the perfection of the situation. But from an egoic position, like, yeah, you made a mistake, or you weren't in that situation, you weren't the most beautiful that you could be. You could recognize for yourself, and you're like, okay, well, what can I do to look at that situation, see how I might have been trying to control myself, or I'm trying to control somebody else. Whatever you take from that, you just got an upgrade in beautification and being, like, to me, it's more of, you get to see more of the world. It's not about like shedding ego is like this dark thing. It's actually bringing insight into your world, and which just brings more beauty into your world. And then you go out and you change other people, and you show them that you're willing to ask for forgiveness. So there was something else, and I get lost in stream of consciousness. So I'm going to go back and revisit something that I may not have said that was a really good visual for me. When we were talking about how do we out evil, we need to be willing to stake a claim, a big truth that we believe to be true. And then when we need to, because see, the thing about evil is it doesn't do any of this. That I was explaining, let's just take an example that, you know, I'm in a room full of 100 people. And I'm just for a experiment, let's say that 5 of those are these dark entities. They represent true evil. Well, then figure out how true evil would work. If I went into that room, and this is what I do now in my life, is I encourage everyone. I would encourage every person in that 100% room to trust themselves as deeply as they can, go out, stake a claim. If you're wrong, admit you're wrong, keep going and speak the next highest truth you can. Because I know what's going to happen. Let's just say that people came to because they invited me to this 100. That's because people need to invite me now. I'm not chasing people any longer. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just I don't have that responsibility anymore. And it doesn't work anyway. I'm not, I wouldn't even be able to chase you for $5,000 seminar because I don't believe in that. It's not what I'm practicing. And there's nothing wrong with the people that do those seminars. It's just not my shtick. But let's say I got invited to that. I would share with them exactly what I'm sharing. Go make the world a better place. Well, I know, let's say that all 100 people go and take my advice. I know 5 people in the room aren't going to do that. I know those 5 people are going to go back to the evil people, are just going to go back to doing what they do. But I can tell you, if the other 95 participants took my advice, I'm just using that as an example. I know that's wild, but let's say they did. Well, they're going to go out. They're going to become more beautiful. They're going to speak their truth. They're going to get closer. They're going to open up their perspective. They're going to stand further away from the elephant. They're going to see how evil works. They're going to recognize that they're unconscious, and that hopefully that they understand that's part of the game of being a human, is just being messy. That's why we came here, to be messy and enjoy it. And what's happening to the evil? Well, they got to go find other egos, to scared, unconscious people to prey upon. And then you would say, well, Jim, that's not fair. Why is that a bad thing? Well, those other people have to have an invitation to look at their unconscious as well, just like you did, didn't you? You had an the 95 people that came to it, they got an invitation to look at their unconscious, and they did. And now somebody else gets that opportunity to look at their unconscious. So you can kind of see how evil plays a role can play a role in your awakening. The thing is if we get all caught up in, that person's evil, then we can't recognize things like arrogance against magnificence. Whether somebody truly is. I've seen people apologize with deep sincerity, and all they got back was, "No way, man, it's totally crocodile tears." There's no thought as to whether or not somebody was sincere. We just want to have a bad guy. We just want to have a boogeyman to participate in our stories. Unpacked a lot there. Guys, I'm here to play. This is all I'm doing now. Here, I'll give you an example. One of my big things since I've awakening, I'll just give you an example. Like, all of a sudden, within the last month or so, my values have just completely shifted. Things that were not a big part of my life are becoming a part of my life, like music. I've always loved music, but now music is a connection to the other side. And so I went out and I put together a big, big speakers and like stuff I had years and years ago and I never cared about. But now I want to listen. I want to be moved by music, and I got a system that will move me. So anyway, I was doing that by going on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. And there is a point to this story and why I'm sharing it with you. Because when you're in where I'm at now, it's all about play. Like, there's no more work. There's no more work. Like, I got done discovering and eating some crow this morning, and just the minute I'm so proficient at letting things go that the minute that it came around, it didn't just come as, oh, I'm holding on to some kind of regret. It came as a fucking huge celebration of releasing and then moving on and seeing what the next bigger truth that needs to be spoken is. Anyway, I had this thought in the middle of the night. This is what I love also about awakening, is that time is not chronological anymore for me. It's starting to be what the Greeks called kairos time. I'll just get up in the middle of the night and start creating whatever it is. If I feel like I have the energy, like right now I'm running on 2 hours of sleep and I'm not monitoring it. I'm just going with it. I'm going to push this energy, this creative energy, as far as I possibly can. And then a nap might come into place, or I might find another creative experience. So anyway, what I want to get to about the Craigslist thing is I realized that through this, I picked up some extra stuff, speakers, and I've got some other stuff that I have. And I was like, okay, I could sell that on Craigslist. But I was like, wait a minute. That's a fun way, and I'm practicing interdependency. That's all I want to do now. That's my passion, is that when I was waking up, that's what I discovered. I don't see anybody else, pushing that theme, even though many of the spiritual people and iconic spiritual people have talked about it. Jesus talked about it. Nobody is like blatantly shared that, and interdependency is playing with people, which means that there's not an authority. That means when you go to Craigslist to do a deal about speakers, I don't go to them and try to get the lowest price I can. I go to them and I say, hey, would you be comfortable paying this amount? Because what I want is I want somebody to feel like it's a gift, like the exchange is a gift. And I don't mean that from like I want to be altruistic sense. It's because it's a deeper way for us to express love. Instead of a competition of, oh, I got one over that one. Oh, it's just business. We're playing gift. Like, here's a gift. Here's a gift. Ooh, cool. Good trade. Just reminded me of Dances with Wolves. So anyway, I just, in the middle of the night, probably 1:30 or something, all of a sudden I just had this idea. I'm going to put it out. I'm going to put these items out on Craigslist, and I am just going to say, I am looking for things to play with. Like, how fun is that? That's like, what mystery might show up that I have no idea about? Somebody might share with me something that I never knew anything about, and maybe I just don't even care about the value in money. I look at the value in the play that's going to be. I mean, what if somebody just wants to just give me a spinner or something like that? And it's like, for a pair of Chacos. Chacos are like $100 Chacos, and they're like brand new. But what do I care if the spinner, all I'm looking to play, if I'm practicing interdependency and playing with it, then all I care about is that I feel like the value of the spinner is what the value of those are. And if the spinner was going to bring me that much joy, which I'm just using spinner as an example, not as something, because I don't know what the mystery is, and that's what I love about playing with the universe and poking. And again, that's part of my creative expression, is poking people and saying, like, why do you think the thing that you do? I don't care that I don't have an opinion on why you do it, but let's look at, do you want to figure out why you have that, why you hold that position or that belief? Yeah. I mean, I look back at my journey, and I could look at how many people or chances that were probably right in front of me, but I was so consumed by the game that I couldn't even see it. It was right in front of me. But that's the nature of it. And I don't look back and go, oh, I screwed it up. No, it's not wrong. It's just a game. All of this is just a game. And probably the most beautiful thing anybody ever kept. I had a mentor that just pushed this into me. There's no reason to take all this seriously. And it is this serious nature that actually gets the ego so involved with our lives, which is just a choice.